Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Romy with Romy, where I talk about life, love, and culture. Today's video is going to be more towards the love compartment. Now, before I start, let's do a bit of housekeeping. Disclaimer, the views that I'm about to share in this video are my views and my views alone, and it's based on publicly published videos on a public platform. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, let's start with this commentary. Now, y'all, I had to do this video. You know, I was minding my business, doom scrolling on TikTok, and then I just saw a lot of commentary. The girlies were upset, okay, at this creator.
I'm 39. I had not been on one date in 2 years. Then I invested $10,000 into my dating coach. Shout out to Anwar White. I met my fiance a year ago. He proposed 2 months ago. And now we're getting married in 5 months. So I'm going to finish telling you the iconic engagement story. After that, I'm going to use this page to help you become the CEO of your love life. But first, let's talk investments. People will spend $20,000 on Dr. Miami, $100,000 on higher education, but there are some people in my comments literally cringing at the idea of investing their money and protecting their hearts and their future love lives. So I know the cost. I literally wasted 13 years of my youth on a man because I was not educated on how to date, how to choose wisely, how to pick with intention and clarity. And that comes with consequences. Having children with someone who doesn't show up, wasting years in a low vibrational relationship, letting your emotions allow you to crash out and lead you away from your purpose, being delulu about the red flag. So as a CEO of a 7-figure content studio, I'm now the CEO of my love life. And I lead my love life with wisdom. Your literal life depends on who you choose. So I encourage you to choose wisely.
When I tell y'all, people have mixed reactions to her. Like, there were tons of videos about her decision to pay $10,000 to get some coaching.
Am I paying $10,000 for a dating coach? Absolutely not. Now, this is no shade to the lady who said she invested $10K in a dating coach. She met her now fiance on Hinge, I think she said, and within a year, now they're engaged. That's not going to be everybody's story. I cannot invest that amount of money into something like a dating coach because it's not guaranteed. I know that when I invest into a trainer, right, they can guarantee if you eat this, if you work out this many times, and if you do this with me, you'll lose this amount of weight. That is a guarantee if I follow the plan, right? It may not be a guarantee that if I invest 10K with this dating coach that I'm going to find my man or my partner in a year. Maybe it takes 2 years. Maybe it takes 3 years. I could be on dating apps and doing all this stuff, taking his advice, and the man that's for me could be in Arizona. Like, it's no guarantee. Did it work out for her? Yes. Is that going to be everybody's story? No. Can I invest 10K on a chance, on like a maybe? Possibly once this dating coach cycle is over, you'll have somebody. I can't invest 10K on a maybe.
Everyone is clowning this woman for paying $10,000 for a dating coach and getting a fiance. Y'all are focused on the man, but I'm going to go ahead and focus on the math and the mindset. Coaches are not magicians. I heard people talking about how, you know, she paid $10,000 and it didn't even come with an introduction to a man. That's a matchmaker. So those are two different things. Let's just start with that point. The right coach is supposed to collapse time, confusion, bring clarity, help you build momentum. If you've been with the wrong partner or you've been settling, those people are supposed to help you clarify that. If they're able to identify points of self-sabotage or settling, those are things that they're supposed to actually help you with as well. And the thing is, not everybody's able to recognize that. So if it's worth it to this person to make an investment of $10,000 for them to be able to collapse the time and get the resources that they need for that, that's fine. Especially since we all know how the wrong relationship can absolutely ruin your life and waste your time. And time is it's not an unlimited resource, and you can't get it back. So definitely worth it if you end up saving 10 years of your life being in a relationship that doesn't work. And then on top of that, people spend $10,000 on vacations, weddings that don't end up working out, couches, degrees that they will never use. Like the amount of money that we spend on things, but not willing to spend it on being intentional in relationships is weird. How do you draw the line at being willing to spend money on not dating emotionally unavailable people, or not being able to see those signs, or getting resources and support in that regard? Imagine the amount of money that we spend on like lashes, therapy, skincare, gym memberships, trainers after the relationship and after the breakup, but you won't invest in being intentional before the situation occurred. I'm willing to be intentional in love and relationships and relationship building, and I'm willing to invest in that. That's what the idea is. It's not just about the man. And then on top of that, like, if you are partnered with the right person, there's capital in that. You have better social positioning, you have access to capital, you can expand yourself a lot better, especially if you're with the right person. You have access to new networks, and you have the ability to scale faster as a couple than you do by yourself. So that's an asset. It's not just about love, it is about leverage. Again, assuming this is the right person, this is not about just paying for a man. This is about relationships relational equity, like being able to be partnered with the right person and then paying someone to be able to help you navigate that situation. And then not only that, but if the result of the thing is generated, was that not the function of it? Like, he provided his end of the bargain, she got what she wanted at the end of the day.
Comes to the lady who invested $10,000 into a dating coach to find her fiance, I think she should have held on to that story a little bit longer. And I only say this because if she would have came on here and said, you know, we've been together for 10 years and she was able to show us that she actually had a successful long-term relationship after investing $10,000, I think people would have received it better. But the fact that okay, you're engaged, but what if they don't even make it to the altar? I'm not wishing any ill. I actually hope it works out. I'm not even judging her. But what if they didn't make it to the altar by chance? Or what if they did get married and it only lasts a year or two? Was the investment really worth it? Or, because I haven't seen her actually post his face, what if when she finally does post him, multiple women come out and say that he's also talking to them? I think she should have held on to that story about a good 10 to 20 years maybe.
So ladies, I'm inside of Barnes and Nobles, and I just want to point out how easy it is to, if you get off your ass and stop being lazy, you can purchase books that will help you heal from trauma and toxic relationships. But a lot of y'all are desperate for male validation, and you rather pay a male life coach, a dating coach, relationship guru, just to smile in his face. That's pick me behavior. But I'm gonna show you how easy it is if you just stop watching these dating coaches and just invest the money in yourself. You'll get a lot further. So here we have 2 aisles for personal growth. And this aisle, all these books, 3 sides, are all personal growth books. Let's take a look at some, ladies, shall we? Let that shit go. A journal for leaving your bullshit behind and creating a happy life. Tiny changes, remarkable results, atomic habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. Real self-care, a transformative program for redefining wellness. Let's see, women who love too much. How to know a person, the art of seeing others deeply and being deeply seen. We got emotional intelligence tests, we got personality tests, IQ tests, the highly sensitive person, fuck feelings, self-help, and I think I'm gonna buy this one, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, the #1 predictor of success. Yes. The point I'm trying to make, y'all, is a lot of y'all would rather pay a dating coach, a male dating coach, just to hear from a man. You need that male validation. You need to hear his voice and see his face to feel validated. Why pay him your money when you can just do the work yourself? Go to a bookstore, get the self-help books, and then invest in a quality therapist and do the EMDR therapy, do the tapping, do the brain spotting, talk therapy, trauma therapy. Do the work and stop being fucking lazy and leave the men alone. Stay away from the male dating coach, the male relationship guru. They're all scammers and grifters. They're exploiting you, honey. And they profit off of stupid, desperate women. Get off your fucking ass and do the work yourself.
I want to use this comment to talk about the overall commentary I've been seeing of people saying that this girl spent $10,000 for a coach to tell her to get on Hinge. There is a difference between a matchmaker and a dating coach. And a lot of y'all, I think, are getting the two confused. A matchmaker is the person who will set you up with people and will bring potential suitors to you for you to try and date. And I can guarantee you, they are charging a whole lot more than just $10,000. A dating coach is someone who is there to coach you through your dating experience. And from what I've seen of Anwar White's videos, he also coaches you on how to prepare yourself for a healthy partnership while you're dating, trying to find that person. And Anwar White encourages the use of dating apps. So yes, he recommended her get on Hinge while he coaches her through how to navigate those apps in a healthy manner. But beyond this point, I'm losing the plot as to why people are shaming her so much on spending this money on a dating coach, because the reality is most people don't know how to date healthily. And most people don't know how to prepare for and maintain healthy partnership either. Most of us have not grown up seeing healthy depictions of love and haven't seen it in our communities. So, I mean, while I personally wouldn't spend that kind of money for a dating coach, I understand why she did. We've seen plenty of women buy books, buy courses, and spend their money on other forms of information to learn how to love and how to date. So how is this any different? Like, I'm not seeing it. It's giving Ray Charles.
The reason why I wanted to make this particular commentary video is because just like the creator, I grew up in the church. I always have to say that because I know I have new subscribers. So in case most of you don't know, I grew up in a very religious household. My parents were Christian and I grew up in the church. I mean, going to church every Sunday. That's the type of church I grew up in. Not only that, but I was also single for a long time in my life. So I actually did not have steady boyfriends in high school. And my first real relationship was outside of high school. I also did not have the tools and the knowledge to learn how to navigate dating. It wasn't until I was in my late 20s when I went on my self-improvement journey, where I kind of read up on self-help books, I read advice books. I really tried to tap into healing my inner child and also heal from experiences in my past dating history, that I was able to really learn to love myself, love being single. And then I met my husband when I was 34, got married at 35. So that is my story in a nutshell. Now let's get to Sis's story. Sis paid $10K. Sis paid a bag. And not only that, but she said that it was really worth it. And the coach that she used was also causing a bit of a stir, because he is a popular coach on TikTok by the name of Anwar White.
Dream guy is not necessarily your husband.
100% correct.
Anwar White is the premier dating and relationship coach renowned for his expertise in helping successful women find their match.
The reason why things are really hard is because women are actually not settling like they used to. None of these men are the one until they're the one.
So you should have a roster.
Always. I call it Olympic dating. You gotta have a gold medalist, a silver medalist, and a bronze medalist.
How do you become irresistible?
You become irresistible when you...
It's the best formula. I love it. What are the best apps to be on? What time of the year? You say there's a month you should absolutely not be on these apps.
Here's what I call the Super Bowl of dating. 40 to 50% more people on the apps. A lot of men that are married will go on apps during that time. I would never want my clients to have a dinner date for the first date. Most wealthy men actually prefer coffee dates. And it is because dating is an economy. We are all products in that economy, and we all have value.
Has the dating pool gotten worse? Is there P where there once wasn't?
I think it's a great question. I would say...
Now let's break this down. Sis said that she was 39 years old and had not been on one date in 2 years. She decided to invest $10,000 on her dating coach, and then she was able to meet her fiance a year ago. Okay, that sounds about okay so far. And then from there, he proposed 2 months ago. So I'm assuming 2 months from the time that she posted this video. Now let's look at the date of this video. This video was published a week ago, so he must have proposed. We are in April. Y'all know my math be off. Either in January or February of this year. Okay, no problem. And they are getting married in 5 months. We are in April, May, June, July, August. Okay, so they're going to get married in September. Okay, so she gave us a whole timeline here. All right, so far so good. I mean, that sounds inspirational. You hear the music in the background. I feel like I'm getting inspired to get married, and I'm already married. If I was a single girly, I would be inspired to find my Boaz after paying $10,000. Now, Sis said that she wants to use her page so that you can become the CEO of your love life. Now, I will commend Sis in that she is a 7-figure earner. Sis has a really great business, and it looks like she's into videography and storytelling and filmography. Shout out to you, Sis. Sis is very motivated, and she's a businesswoman. She's a boss chick. All right, so she's getting her bag. Now, the thing is that she said that for y'all who keep going to Dr. Miami and getting your BBL, she said that y'all would like to invest in that, and you would rather invest $100K on education. But when it comes to your love life, you don't want to invest. Spending $100,000 on education is for your self-improvement. That ain't got nothing to do with a man. It doesn't have nothing to do with anyone else but you. Now, getting a BBL, I get Sis's point with that, because that's like she said, going to Dr. Miami to get nipped and tucked and, you know, getting the lipo and the 360s and the mommy makeovers. Sis got a point with that. Yeah, you know, there's some women who value that. And she's just saying that you should also value your love life. So that's her opinion, okay? Now, y'all know if she done made it on this channel, then I found a few things that were questionable in this love story. In part 2 of her series of how she invested over $10K into a dating coach and was engaged within a year, she explained how she met her ex-boyfriend, so the previous boyfriend, And basically, they were friends first for 2 years before he decided to make her his girlfriend. And then they were together for 13 years and finally broke up. She said that they grew up together. They knew each other's families. She was close to his mom. I'm guessing he was also close to her mom and her family. This is a red flag, y'all. Right out the gate. Red flag in her past prior life. The reason that this was a red flag is because she said that they didn't know what they were for 2 years. Sis was in a situationship. And from the beginning, he was dragging his feet and did not show interest, according to what she said, because after 13 years, they broke up. And she said that she left because at the end she was like, I left and then I was single. So this means that she wasted 13 years of her life. That's a very long time to waste on a man. I can understand Sis's journey more because she explained that she didn't really know how to date.
We broke up. It was a really, really bad breakup for me. I was so sad because we had spent so much of our lives together. We were basically family. His mom, his dad were like my mom, my dad. So it was really, really heartbreaking when we did break up. I broke up, and then right after that, I just was outside and literally did not know what I was doing because I was in a relationship for 13 years. We we're in a talking stage, and Anwar helped me to understand that is like a fallacy, but we were friends for about a year or two, then got into this relationship. So in totality, it was about 13 years of my life that I had committed to this person.
You can clearly see that he was non-committal from the beginning. Now, we all have made bad judgments in past relationships, at least many of us have. I will say that I can't hold that against her because a lot of us don't have that experience, and we don't have any experiences dating. Again, sis is from the church, and I've explained it even in the Sarah Kim breakdown that when you grow up in the church and you're sheltered, you do not really have the tools to navigate and date in the outside world, because for them, they expect you to find a man in the church. If you don't know how to navigate dating, you're going to meet the worst types of men. And these men are not going to be very kind or understanding. They will take advantage of you because that's in their nature. So I can understand now the psychology and psyche behind why she decided to invest $10K in a dating coach. We're going to get to that. Another thing I will mention is that 13 years is a long time to be dating somebody. I would like to give sis the benefit of the doubt because 13 years, I don't know when that 13-year gap happened in her life, so I can't fault her for it because she was probably young and inexperienced, which by the sounds of it, she was. However, for the rest of you all who have the opportunity to do things in another way, I would highly recommend that you do not waste 13 years of your life if marriage is the end goal. Sis is ready to get married. She was ready to get married, and you're gonna see how pressed she was to get married. So if that's your end goal, I would highly recommend that, one, you don't date somebody after being in a situationship or talking stage for 2 years. That's just wasting your time. The person has already shown you that they're not committed, and he probably just ended up having her as his girlfriend because it was convenient for him. Let's just keep it real, okay? Now, I don't know what benefit that she gave him, but she must have given him some benefits for him to want to make her his girlfriend, but not necessarily commit to her. So I will say that men think a lot differently than women when it comes to commitment, and don't think that a man, just because he's with you and he has given you the girlfriend title, that necessarily means that he will make you his wife. Those are two different categories. And from my experience, this is my opinion, and from my dating experience, I have noticed that when a man doesn't show interest in the beginning and he's already wishy-washy and showing mixed signals, then there's no confusion there. He's not into you. That's just what it is. I think that there was a reason or something he could get out of her, and that is why he decided to be with her for 13 years. Again, these are my assumptions based on what she has said, and also sis is making 7 figures. So I'm just going to assume that sis was already showing signs of being successful, and she had the finances probably. In the end, she left probably because she wanted a commitment. After 13 years, like, what are we doing? And he decided not to commit. But he didn't even want to commit from the beginning. He knew it. He knew he wasn't going to marry sis. So a man will waste your time if you let him. Let's just put it that way. So let's continue to the next part. In the next part, sis talks about why she decided to invest in a dating coach. She explains that she was on a trip and she had an epiphany. And it just didn't, like, it wasn't something that she sought out, but it just so happened that she just kind of opened her eyes during the trip. She realized that, you know, she has a financial coach, she has a fitness coach, and she has a business coach, but why not a dating coach? And so after a period of taking a break from dating, because, you know, she said that she took 2-year break, remember in that video where she explained why she spent $10K on finding her husband, that she spent 2 years not dating. Now, I agree with sis. I will say this. I know that there were some people on TikTok who disagreed and were like, why would you spend 10K on a dating coach? Now, would I spend 10K on a dating coach? I'm going to be honest with y'all. No, I wouldn't. Personally speaking, because I do believe that 10K could be better used for me to improve myself, in which sis did say that. However, I think her intention in the beginning was to find a husband. However, I think that if you spent 10K on just improving yourself without the intention of finding someone, then I would be more inclined to say, hey, do it, than for the purposes of getting married. However, I do not want to judge people who do take that route, because I understand that not everyone has the same personality. And you guys have to also keep in mind that some people are socially awkward. Some people also have mental health issues that they deal with that may prevent them from having the same kind of social experience as other people. For example, for me, I've just always been good at talking to men. Why? Because I have brothers. I have friends who are guys. I've been around men since I was young. So I know how to communicate very well with men. I know how to speak the male language because I just have that ease with men because I grew up with them. However, for others, they may be socially awkward around men, or maybe they have something that prevents them from getting intimate with men and they need that extra help. So I can't fault sis for doing that. We don't know her struggles. For me personally, no, I would not do that because I don't need to do that. But for other people, they might need to. So I do want to put that into context for some of you. Now, I do agree with her. Yes, you can invest in a financial, fitness, and business coach, and they will help you get to where you need faster. Because if somebody has the same experience that you've had, but they've been able to overcome it, and they have the tools, the technique, and the education in order to kind of streamline you along, then there's no reason why you shouldn't spend that money. People will invest in what's important to them and what they value. Sis's value was finding a man, so she invested in finding one. Now, what I'm going to say is, did you get the bang for your buck? Now, that's what I need to know, because that's where, for me, the value comes. It's like, okay, you value finding a man, no problem. But was it worth the 10K? For example, let's say that we use that same 10K. And this is imaginary world, because I already know. Y'all going to say college education is not 10K. I know that. But let's just say that there was a program for $10,000 and you spent it on that program. And let's say after you graduated that you weren't able to find a job in that field, and that you weren't able to really use the degree the way that it's supposed to be used, then that was not a good ROI. It's not a good return on investment. Let's say that you spend that same 10K and you went and you got yourself a BBL. And then let's say that you got the BBL and then you got a whole bunch of scar tissue. Your butt is all types of deformed. And you had to go back in and rectify the BBL. Your butt is hard. I don't know. Then that 10K would not be a ROI because you just wasted more time trying to fix it than actually getting a return on your investment. Now, we're going to find out if the 10K was worth it because, mind you, sis is not married yet. That's one thing I got to bring up. Sis is not married yet. Sis is getting married in 5 months. So she's still in the relationship stage. And also, we have to keep in mind that she's offering to give people advice because she's successful, but it hasn't even been a year since she's been with this man. But not only that, it's not even just that. Sis is not even married yet. And I'm going to tell you guys as a married woman, and this is no shade to others out there, but I will say this, that dating and being married are two different things. Well, two totally different experiences. When you're dating, it's a whole, like, I feel like when you're dating, it's just, you're still getting to know the person and things are not as amplified as when you're married. When you're married, that's the true test. That'll test you. But you gotta be with that person 24/7. And when you have to work things out and you have to compromise and you have to see the person day to day, because when you're not married, especially if you don't live with the person because sis decided not to live with him, and I agree with that, and I highly would recommend that. And a lot of psychologists recommend that too, by the way. What I want to say is this, that sis is already so happy and giddy to tell y'all she got a man. And she about to give y'all her testimony. But she ain't even been married yet. So that's a bit of a red flag too, because she's selling you the dream of finding your Boaz, but not concerned about the marriage part, more concerned about the wedding part and the love part. That's a problem. All right, but let's continue her story. In the next scene, sis said that she set up a meeting with the coach, Anwar White, and he was able to give her a 20-minute consultation.
So I did a consultation with Anwar. I think it was like 20 minutes. I did a consultation with him. Oh, y'all be wanting to see the product, right? This is some Pat McGraw. Damn it. I did a consultation with him. It was like 20 minutes. And it was amazing. He read me. But not in like this nasty Housewives of Atlanta way. Like a very like gentle, like gathered me. Helped me to see, in 20 minutes, helped me to see what some of my challenges were. Because what I realized in working with him, and this is why he works specifically with successful Black and brown women, we all have a lot of the same profile. He was able to like quickly identify some things and give me like some solutions on the fly. And I was like, well, if I could get this in this 20-minute consult, I think I need to go get, oh my gosh. I think I need to go get me a mirror or something. Doing this on the phone is dangerous. Teach me, girlies. Teach me how to do this. I'm like, if I could get all this within this 20 minutes, what can I get if I like actually dedicate my time working with him?
Now, what she said was that he was able to pinpoint her challenges and kind of read her, but not in a malicious way, but he was able to identify some things and give her solutions. What I will say is this though, like, sis, not taken away from Anwar White, because I'm pretty sure that he is a very good coach. I've seen some of his reviews and his customers seem to have nothing but good things to say about him. He is a bit controversial on TikTok because some people just refer to him as a TikTok coach and they don't believe in the services that he's offering. What I will say though is that it wasn't that difficult to pinpoint your issues, sis. I'm sorry to say. The fact that you were in a relationship for 13 years and then you spent the first 2 years in the talking stage, we could already identify a lot of issues. And also the fact that you grew up in the church and very sheltered, it wouldn't have been hard for him to read her. So I will just say that it wasn't that hard for him to read you. That's what I will just say. All I will say is that you're not that hard to read, sis. You're not. You're not that hard to read. So I don't think that he did some type of magical psychic work. This was just based off of your situation and the fact that you're successful, but you can't be in a successful relationship. Anybody could read you, girl. Anybody could read you. Now sis gets a little bit into the coaching methodology that Anwar White uses. She said that his program mainly focuses on online dating, and sis was not used to that because she's used to meeting men outside in the wild. That made her very uncomfortable. However, she spoke to her therapist. So sis got a financial coach, a business coach, a fitness coach, dating coach, and a therapist. I will say sis is prepared, okay? So she really wants to invest in herself. So I could say nothing but kudos to her for that. I think every woman should invest in themselves appropriately. Sis has the funds, so why not spend it to improve yourself? Self-improvement. It's all about that. However, I will say this though. I believe that the reason why a majority of his programs are based on online dating is because it is a numbers game, guys. I've been said that. It's a numbers game. So the more men you meet, the more people you interact with, the higher your chances are of meeting the one, right? So I think that for him, because remember, she's spending 10K. That's 10 bands. So she has to have some type of result, or else he's just going to be looking crazy in these streets, charging people 10K and there's no results, right? So that's why it focuses mainly on online dating. Mind you, he's not a matchmaker. I know that some people think that using a matchmaker is controversial, but there's actually a large market for matchmakers. A lot of countries actually normalize using matchmakers. Like, for example, I know that in India, a lot of parents use matchmakers to match their kids up with potential spouses. In Korea, I know this for a fact because when I used to live in Korea, they used to talk about sogeting, which is when you meet up with someone that your friend or family member or parent set you up with. And if you watch a lot of K-dramas, there's always these matchmaking schemes. There's actually a really big company by the name of Duo that's very popular in Korea, and their clients are very successful and they were able to find their spouses that way. So this is not something that is abnormal in other countries. However, I do realize that in North America, it's something that's not seen as the norm. So I understand why people have a lot of aversion towards it. Now, let's get to the next part. This goes into the different online dating platforms that she used. She said that Match.com was chaotic. She ended up going on Hinge, and her fiance was one of the first 5 people that she connected with. Another thing she mentioned was that Anwar gave her prompts and things to kind of know how to weed out the quality men from the trash men, I guess I should say. And that she learned how to properly vet her dates. What I will say, though, is that you have to go a step further these days because a lot of unhinged people, no pun intended, are on these dating apps. I would highly recommend, especially if you're in the US of A, that you try to conduct a background check on these guys and do a social media kind of search and really investigate these men. A lot of men use dating apps to look for their prey. I would highly recommend that not only you vet them properly, but you also do some criminal digging on them. You investigate them properly. And that's a tip. Now, in my past, I have dabbled in online dating in the past when I was in my little city girl era. I used OkCupid, POF, and then I used Tinder maybe once, and I stopped using Tinder after that. Tinder was just too crazy for me. And I also used Badoo, Coffee Meets Bagel. I was on all of them, y'all. I was in these streets, okay? I was dating and exploring and, you know, trying to meet new people. Now, I did not meet my husband on a dating app. And I didn't even pay $10K either. I'll get into that. I'll give you guys my advice. But let's go through Sis's story. But I just want to kind of say that every dating app serves its own purpose. And I've never used Hinge. I've heard that Hinge is one of the best ones out there. But I do think that you have to be very vigilant, hyper vigilant when you go on these dating apps, because there are a lot of scary men out there. I will say that. So don't just go by prompts and vet them by questions. Also go and investigate them as well. In part 7, Sis goes into what happened while she was on Hinge. So she said that she matched with 150 men.
Okay, y'all. So you were getting ready with me as I was telling you my story of how I invested over $10,000 into a dating coach, and I got engaged. I met my fiance and got engaged within 1 year of knowing him. And in the middle of getting ready with me, it was just too much. My camera was falling. I was having to do retakes. So I stopped, I got ready, and now I'm back to tell y'all the rest of the story. So within Anwar's program, I'm on the app, I'm on Hinge, I'm talking to a whole bunch of different guys. I probably matched with like over 150 guys on Hinge. I did at least maybe like 25 to 30 phone calls. From those phone calls, I think maybe 4 in-person dates happened. And those dates came from people I met online as well as in real life, IRL. Now, all the guys that I went out on physical dates with, they were good guys, like had great jobs, were kind, were considerate, were thoughtful, but it didn't click. My now fiance Ty, he was from the beginning a standout candidate. And so now I'm going to tell you what was so special and unique about Ty that made him stand out like a sore thumb from everybody else. He's really like my golden retriever.
And she had between 25 to 30 phone calls and 4 in-person dates, online and in real life. And while she was dating them, some of the men were really good men, but her fiance Ty stood out, and then she called him her golden retriever. All right, y'all got that there. Now, the thing is that, like I said, it's a numbers game. So, of course, if you met 150 men and had 25 to 30 phone calls, it's inevitable that you're going to find somebody. Now, whether the person is quality, like I said, was the $10K worth it, we're going to find out in the end. But she ended up finding her fiance through her rounds of dating, the multiple rounds that she did. I did notice, though, that she said, he's my golden retriever. And I was like, okay, sis, like, yeah.
Meet the Golden Retriever, one of the most popular and loved dog breeds in the world. Known for their friendly and tolerant attitude, Golden Retrievers are the perfect family companions. These dogs are not just affectionate, they're also highly active and love to play. Whether it's fetching a ball or taking a dip in the water, Golden Retrievers are always up for some fun. But what really makes the Golden Retriever special is their intelligence and versatility. From being service dogs to therapy dogs, they excel in many roles, always eager to help and please. With their golden coats and even more golden hearts, Golden Retrievers bring joy wherever they go. Like and subscribe for more heartwarming dog stories.
There's a lot to unpack in this particular section. Now, Sis goes into the fact that she did not learn how to date. And even though she had her mom and her aunties there, she actually didn't properly know how to date. She did not mention her father. That raised my eyebrow a bit. That's a very important, integral figure to have in your life, especially if you're trying to date men. The best person who can teach you what a man is supposed to be your father. Now, I understand that some of us did not grow up with our fathers. Maybe your father is a deadbeat. Maybe your father wasn't in your life. Maybe your father's deceased. So I understand that. And also, your father could be in your life, but just not emotionally present, as we've learned in other case studies that we've done. And that kind of gives us a background as to why she was a bit misguided. Also, she grew up in the church. Like I said, church culture does not really promote dating. So now we got all of these challenges and barriers Now, she said that Anwar was able to identify her core needs. I feel like this is a bit of a commercial now because it sounded like an advertisement. It's like every second or third video after she explains her love story. And then this is what Anwar did. And then he did this and that. And I'm like, sis, you ain't had to say all that. You already done told us in the beginning that he was your coach. That was enough. Let the story speak for itself. But I feel like she was kind of selling his services. So now that makes me feel like this was an ad. I'm sorry to say. This is giving me ad tease because I know an advertisement when I see one. Sis was selling his services here. She said he identified her core needs and that when she met Ty, what she was attracted to was that he was thoughtful, kind, considerate. I think that those are great qualities to have, by the way. And that he cared about her convenience, her comfort. And then this is where I have an issue. Now, this is where I'm going to give my opinion here. She said that their first date was a coffee date. And that they took a walk. And the coach, Anwar, he promotes for the women in his program to go on these coffee date and walk dates. Listen, y'all, I'm sorry. Sorry for my girlies who like to do that, but no, ma'am, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, we're not doing coffee dates. I'm sorry. And I know that she had kind of an intention of getting to know him and talk to him so we don't waste money and time. I'm sorry, but I'm from the school of a man will invest money in what he wants. And if you're going to take me out on a date, you're going to take me out on a proper date. I disagree with the whole coffee date and walk because I feel like you can still do that and also have the man take you to a nice place first to eat. Have a nice meal, then you can go and have your coffee date and walk. And now I get it that, you know, sometimes maybe when you first meet someone, it might be awkward, but that's just the name of the game. Listen, that's just my opinion. I just think that a man will invest and put time and effort into what he values. So I'm going to give you guys a personal example. When I first met my husband, we met on Hello Talk, which is a language exchange app in Korea. Now, people use it for language exchange, and then sometimes, you know, sparks fly. And in our case, when we started talking to each other, we noticed that we had a lot in common. We were both born the same year. Literally, like 2 weeks after each other, we noticed that we both like to travel. We just had a lot of conversation. He initiated the conversation first. That's number one. Number two, he's the one who reached out to me first. He kept the conversations going. I reciprocated and replied and showed interest. So that's how it was. It was kind of like a dance, right? Then he's the one who asked me to go and move to Kakao Talk. So we were on the language exchange app. Then he asked me for my number to move over to Kakao Talk. No problem. That's the WhatsApp of Korea, in case many of you don't know. Once we started talking on Kakao Talk, he's the one who initiated the messages from there. He's the one who called me and made sure to have phone conversations. He's the one who asked me to meet up with him. And he's the one who traveled because he lived 3 hours away. He traveled to Seoul to meet me just for the day. He planned the whole thing out, y'all. He took me to a really popular kalguksu restaurant in Myeongdong. He's the one who took me for a walk after, because we did walk after. We ate really heavy lunch. Then we went and we walked around. And then after that, he took me to coffee. He asked me if I wanted dessert. He's the one who planned everything, y'all. And then after that, he went home. That was it. And then he asked me to be his girlfriend, probably 20 minutes later. By the way, y'all, in Korea, they lock it down right away. If a man's truly interested in you, he locks it down literally the same day. This is normal behavior in Korea. And another thing I should mention is that when we went to the coffee shop after we ate our lunch together, we talked for almost 4 or 5 hours. So you can actually have a date and still do the coffee and walk. Now, in part 9, following their coffee and walk date, Sis says that they did not text a lot and there were not many phone calls in between. I find that problematic. That's just my personal opinion, because I understand that she's saying that, okay, we're going to leave the conversation for dates, which I completely understand. However, I think that there has to be some type of communication in between. Being that sis is very busy, I will give her the benefit of the doubt. I understand that she has a very busy schedule, and it seems like she's the one who has the jam-packed schedule, because she mentioned that she works in media entertainment. Remember, she's a 7-figure earner. All right. And that she schedules a lot of her meetings. So sis doesn't have time. So I understand that. So I'll give her the benefit of the doubt here. Now, one thing that she didn't mention is what he does for a living now. I was able to find a video on TikTok where they revealed who he is. I don't want to do that because sis didn't reveal that herself. So I will not do that in public. However, if you're part of the membership, this will be included in your video version. Both of her parents, unfortunately, got sick and they were hospitalized. Her dad had cancer. I really hope that he recovered well. I think she did mention that. Okay, so now we see her father there. Her dad got cancer and her mom had a brain injury. Okay, so now we see that her father is involved. That maybe kind of gives us an indicator that he wasn't too involved in her dating life and probably didn't give her much advice at all. According to what she said, maybe she'll clear it up in a future video. She said that while her parents were sick, she just had a lot going on. She had a lot of photo shoots at work or video shoots. And that her coach, Anwar White, was very supportive, again, plugging him in the story. Like I said, I think this is a psyop. This is an advertisement for me.
He never got no pictures. He was telling you a story, Mama.
Well, it could have been a scheme that Todd set up for him to come to you with the booze.
Because she just kind of sneaks him in there subtly. But like I said, I know an ad when I see one. This is marketing 101. She keeps saying his name here and there, right? Now, she sent a text to her dating prospect at the time, which is her fiance, Ty. And she just let him know, I can't do this anymore and best of luck. Sis is very, how can I say this? Sis seems to lack communication skills. I think that she dismissed it as I didn't know him that well, but the way that she made it sound like, oh, I found my golden retriever and that he's such a good guy, then why weren't you transparent with him? You didn't have to tell him all your business, but you could have at least kept him in the loop of what was happening to see his reaction. This is very important for y'all. This is a good lesson. Watch how a man reacts to when you have trials and tribulations in your life, especially when it's concerning your family. This would have been a perfect opportunity for her to see how he reacts and if he's still able to keep up being the emotionally supportive person that he portrayed himself to be, the golden retriever that she claimed that he was. But she totally dropped the bag. But for y'all, if you are out there in the dating world and this kind of situation happens while you're in the midst of talking to someone or in the talking stage, and you feel that this person could potentially be your forever person, definitely let them know what's going on. And see if they check up on you, how they react to that. Do they just dismiss you or do they ignore you? These kind of things will help you to determine if this person is dependable. This would have been the perfect opportunity for her, and she just kind of blew it. She just was like, oh, best of luck, I can't do it, and she disengaged, showing avoidance because she couldn't handle the stress. And I understand that. I get that she had a lot going on, but again, these kind of situations will happen in life, especially because she's at an older age. Her parents are older. They obviously have a lot of health issues here. So this is something that will probably be a large part of their marital life. I'm going to tell you guys right now, and this is me being transparent with y'all. You're going to have aging parents, especially when you decide to marry at a later age in life. if you have elderly parents, you are going to be tasked with most likely taking care of them or trying to find a way to care for them. And that's on both sides. So for example, my parents are in their late 60s. Dom's parents are in their early 60s, early to mid 60s. What we have to deal with is that our parents are aging. And yes, right now they are mobile. They're able to freely walk around. However, we've noticed that as the years go on, they are more dependent on us. Even though they don't want to be, but it's like it's natural for you as a child to want your parents to be okay and to make sure that they're okay, make sure they're taking their meds, make sure that they're healthy. These kind of things are very important to iron out with your future spouse. What if one of your parents gets ill and then you have to take care of them in your house? They have to come and move in with you. You want to make sure that that person is able to adapt to that kind of situation, especially if you're from a close-knit family. There are some people who do not want their parents to be in a retirement home or a care home, and so they would prefer to have their parents stay with them. However, if you can't even see how your future partner is able to kind of react to that kind of situation, because this will happen. Her parents are two ill people. One of her parents has cancer and the other one has a brain injury. These are two very serious illnesses. So this is something that should have been mentioned to him, because this will let you know about the person that you're about to be with. And this will really test your relationship for real, because these are the things that happen in a marriage, not when you're just trying to get married and have the wedding. So in the next part, she talks about how she reached out to Ty after her parents were more stable and she got that situation sorted out. She sent him a text and then she called him and shared what happened.
She's back with another part of Anwar White's best love story on the internet. So this is about how I invested a nice amount of money working with Anwar White, and with his work and Jesus's help, I met my fiance. I was engaged within a year. So after I tried to blow him off, I sent him a text like, "Hey, big head." No, I'm just kidding. I sent him a text and I was like, "Hey, can you talk?" And he was like, "Never thought I'd hear from you again, but okay." So we got on the phone. I shared what had been happening. My mom and my dad were in the hospital. I was in survival mode. I was in gotta take care of my family mode and myself. So a lot was going on within business. So we got on a call. We talked about it. Whenever I tell this part of the story, I get super duper emotional, because it was very much like a turning point and it shifted the way that I looked at him. So I get on a call and I'm very transparent, I'm very open, I'm sharing all these things and he's just listening. And at the end of the call, or at the end of me sharing, he thanked me and he was like, after everything I did, completely blew him off in a very respectable way. I did not ghost him. He was like, and I still think you are one of the most amazing people ever. It wasn't his exact wording, but that's what he said. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this man is so forgiving and kind. And one of my core values or core needs that I discovered in working with Anwar is that I needed a partner who was not critical, who was forgiving, who was gracious in that way. And he exhibited that characteristic very, very early on when we were in a very tense or tensious moment.
And then he was like, "Well, I thought I'd never hear from you again." Okay, well, that's expected because she's the one who said that best of luck, I'm done with you, yada, yada, yada. Now, she said this is where she gets emotional because she felt like that conversation was a turning point in their situation, about them kind of her seeing him in a new light. And then she said that she was very transparent with him, told him about her parents and shared what happened. And then he thanked her for sharing and said, "I still think you are one of the most amazing people ever." Then she said one of her core needs was for a man to be very forgiving, and the fact that he forgave her meant a lot to her. So again, listen, I try my best to see the bright side in everything. Y'all know I'm a very very critical person. I am like that even with myself. So you can only imagine when I have to do these type of commentaries. So I have to dissect this a bit. She said he thanked her and then said she's one of the most amazing people ever. This man don't know her though. He doesn't know her. He doesn't know her. I didn't hear anything about, how hard this must have been for you. I know that you're going through a lot. Maybe that's what he meant. But I didn't hear anything of real substance. This sounded very generic. And mind you, she, again, plugged in her coach. She said at the beginning, this is Anwar White's best love story on the internet. I don't know, y'all. So this is where I'm just going to say my opinion is that this was very generic. I don't think that this was deep enough for her to get emotional unless she's not telling us parts of the story. I think that on the surface it sounds great, but below the surface, after she done told him what happened with her parents, this is what he had to say. That's it. She's one of the most amazing people ever. Is it because I just don't get it? I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but I just think that after seeing both of her parents in the hospital, I would think that he would want to comfort her and try to be there for her. So I think that she just left a lot of pieces out about this story. Again, I have to kind of give her the benefit of the doubt because she didn't give us too much of this. And I understand because TikTok has a certain limit of how many minutes you can tell a story. So I get that. But to me, it just seems very generic. I don't see how he would know that she's one of the most amazing people ever. They just met. However, maybe he just was really in love and he felt like, okay, she's amazing and this is somebody that I want to be with. But I find it funny. There's another thing I found interesting, that even though she said best of luck and she, just thought, she just didn't message him, he didn't reach out. Now, one thing I will say is a man can be very persistent when he really wants to be. And I find it very, very odd that he didn't even check up on her if he was really interested. Let me tell y'all, when a man is interested, he's very interested. You don't know how many times I've had to really literally block somebody because they couldn't get the hint. And I understand that maybe he was being respectful. Okay, I understand that maybe he was being respectful and he was like, okay, best of luck, bye. But it sounded like, I don't know, something about this is giving me, it's raising my eyebrows, y'all. Because I can't see why he wouldn't check up on her. And then also, when she texted him, he was like, oh, thought I'd never hear from you again. It's kind of giving me that the roles reversed here. I think this is the pivotal point where the roles reversed. I think so. Okay, because I'm gonna get into more of this story. This is the turning point. Like sis said that this was the turning point in their relationship, but what she didn't realize is that when she sent him the text, that changed the trajectory of their dynamic. Because from here on out, sis was the one that was starting to push things forward. So I do believe that in the beginning, he was the one who was more interested in her. However, after this whole debacle, and after, Anwar said he's a good man, Savannah, and you need to go text him back, that's when the relationship dynamic changed. I don't want to get too ahead of myself, so let's keep listening to Sis's story. All right, let's get to part 11. So now, again, Sis is plugging Anwar's program. She was like, look, I did Anwar's VIP program and one-on-one coaching. And so when I paid the $10K, I had 24/7 access to him and other coaches. And he was able to help me fix a lot of things in my life. Sis is plugging heavy. She done got paid. Listen, sis got a bag for this. I don't care what nobody says. I don't care what anyone says. Sis got some money for this. Because, you know, right now, tariffs are going on. The economy is on decline. And that's worldwide. This is a global issue. People are just not spending as much as they used to. With this economy being this way, I find it very interesting that sis is promoting a $10,000 dating program as if that is what people are focused on in this date and time. At this very moment, everyone is not focused on dating. I can guarantee this is not a priority for a lot of y'all. I can guarantee that for a lot of y'all, this is just definitely something that you want to work on while you're going through your life. This is not your utmost priority where you're going to spend $10K to find your Boaz. But sis is marketing heavily. So that lets me know that she got something for this. That's just my opinion. Now, let's continue. She said things got back on track with Ty. Then things got stickier. And then she went back to Anwar again. She's like, yeah, so then I talked to Anwar. Listen, y'all. Sis is doing her due diligence here. Sis is really working for her money here. And she said how Anwar, so I agree with this part. I actually like this part of her video. She said Anwar helped her set boundaries. He taught her how to create boundaries and how to set boundaries. Now, one thing that she asked of Ty is for him to adhere and to comply with scheduled calls. So she would set up these scheduled calls and he couldn't miss the calls. He had to call her at an exact time every day. And then she said that he didn't enter her apartment until like date 5. That was one of her boundaries. And that he didn't just mass text her. He texted her when they had something to plan and they had meaningful conversations. I think that was perfect. I don't think that there's anything wrong with what she said here. It is good to set boundaries, even though I think the scheduled calls were a bit excessive. But in her case, I can understand because she's a 7-figure earner and she has her own business. So sis is busy. I get it. So those were her boundaries. She stuck to them. And I always tell you guys that you got to set boundaries for yourself. Set the standards, and the man that really wants to be with you, he will follow those standards. All right, so part 12. Whoo, Lord. Okay, this one was very interesting.
Y'all, he's sitting next to me while I'm telling this story time, and he's like, please tell them that I had no idea that you was in this program and I was a part of all this, because this sounds crazy. So, caveat. He didn't know. But yeah, so back to how I invested all this money into a dating coach and met my now fiance.
Sis is in the car with her man, and she has a very beautiful ring, by the way. And her man told her to tell us, the audience, please tell them I had no idea you were in this program because you sound crazy. Now, let me dissect this for y'all. He's basically saying that, well, she said that he didn't know about this. Obviously, because he said you sound crazy. Let me tell you what he meant in man language. What he meant to say is that you spent $10K to find me, but I would not spend that much money to find you. He wouldn't do it, y'all. He wouldn't do it. I know sis packaged it as she got into Anwar's program for self-improvement and to learn how to date. And then she wasn't really like focused on a man, but she really was. Sis, no matter how you slice it and package it up, you did this program because you knew that your chances would have probably been higher to find a man because you had a timeline. After those 2 years that you spent not dating, you looked up and realized that the clock kept going. Your age, you know, you're getting a year older. And for some women, we embrace it and we say, look, age is part of the process. If I'm single, so be it. I'm just going to take my time. But for others who are on a time crunch, especially if you want to have a baby, this makes sense because sis looked up and she was like, oh, I'm already in my late 30s. And she probably started freaking out. It's like, look, I got to find a man, 10K. because she values that. She wants to be a wife. She wants to be a mom. There's nothing wrong with that. I think every woman has a choice as to what they want to be and who they want to be. And if motherhood and being a wife is what you really desire, there's nothing wrong with that. I will never tell you that there's anything wrong with that. However, forcing it, sis was on a mission and she was going to get what she wanted by any means necessary. Now again, she plugs Anwar. And she's like, look, Anwar was like, he's the one. And we had this whole group chat with the girlies in the group. And they were like, he's a saint. This is craziness, y'all. They was already calling him a saint, y'all. They were like, he's a saint. He's the one. He's the one. You need to lock it in with him. And then she mentions that she crashed out. So let's get to the crash out story. Oh boy, this story is getting interesting. Okay, so in part 13, she goes on to talk about Anwar yet again. All right, but I guess this is part of the story. So she says that Anwar told her you could never do the wrong thing to the right guy. I believe that, but you can turn someone off too. Now, this is the thing. You want to play too many games with people because sometimes you could do the wrong thing to the wrong guy and it might be a turn off and then he might just say it's raps. Just like a man could do the wrong thing to you and you might just get so turned off that you're like it's raps, especially in the beginning of a relationship. And mind you, she had already ghosted him before. So sis didn't need to be, you know, she should have been on her best behavior. But again, you know, you have to be yourself. So I understand that concept. You don't want to always be something you're not as well. It's just like kind of like a balance to it, right? You can mess up some opportunities. Yes. And people who have strong boundaries, if they feel like you have crossed them, then they will not tolerate it. And you might not get a second chance. So I just have to put that out there. Do not think that other people are going to let things slide. Because some people just don't let things slide. I know that my husband has very strong boundaries. I remember when we first met, he texted me and he was like, hey, are you going to be here at this time? And I said, yes. And then I texted him and I was like, hey, I'm getting off the subway. I'm about to be there soon. And then we met up. One thing he said that he really liked about me was that I messaged him right back, told him where I was, told him I would get there, and then I was there on time. And he said that one thing he does not like is when people are late. And he said had I been late, that would have been a turnoff for him. And he's very strict with his boundaries, y'all. Like, especially when it comes to first impressions. So I passed the first impression test. Now, the thing is that they were talking for a bit and then she had ghosted him. You could already tell that this man does not have strong boundaries. So even if he's really interested in her, the fact that she, the first time, didn't talk to him, and then after that, she ended up crashing out before his 40th birthday, which I will explain right now. And that kind of behavior for a man who has standards, that would be a no-go. But this man clearly does not have a lot of standards because he let that slide. And for me, that shows, I know some people will be like, oh my God, it shows that he's so interested in her and that he's so into her. But that just shows me that he doesn't have strong boundaries and he doesn't have strong standards. So listen, I have to be honest in my case study. That's just what I see. Okay. Now, next, she said that she wants her future husband to be obsessed with her and that he showed her he was, and that he would show it through his actions and his words, and that she wanted him to show her love in the small and big ways. I totally agree with that. I think that you should have a man who's very interested in you and that he wants to be with you. Now, obsessed is a very strong word, but I guess this meant that he's really into her more than she is into him. That seems to work, actually, to be honest with you. If a man shows more interest, it's usually a better sign that the relationship will be more successful. That's just how it works. Now, she said that she suffered from hyper independence as if it is a disease. Ma'am, We're going to get into that soon. Being hyper independent is not a disease if you know how to use it in the right way. You have to learn how to compartmentalize it. So it looks like sis just didn't know how to, turn it on and off. But I think she talks about it later on in her other videos. Now, this was questionable here because she said, oh, I'm going to give you guys an example of how Ty showed me that he really cares about me. One day she had a shoot that ended up running a little late, and he did something sweet for her. What was the sweet thing, you ask? He asked her what's her address, and she said that she had texted Anwar, and Anwar said that she has to learn how to let men do things for her. Now, the thing that I find questionable is that he asked her what's her address, and then he went to go deliver the food himself. Now, that seems very kind and sweet on the surface. However, remember, she said in a video before, or the video before that, that she didn't let him know her address. And she had that strong boundary. This brother was trying to find out where she was living. Because remember, it's dinner time. And he wanted to deliver her dinner. Now, why he couldn't deliver it at the studio where she was at, one will never know. Why couldn't he just send for somebody to deliver it for her? One will never know. But I do know that he asked her specifically what's her address, and she ended up giving it to him, and he was downstairs. Now, she didn't say what happened after he showed up downstairs. A man will be a man, guys. A man will be a man. A man will be a man. If this was truly a generous act from the kindness of his heart, then he wouldn't need to show up. And I know some men gonna be like, well, he showed up because he really cared. Please, at night. Y'all really think that was a generous act? I'll let you form your own opinions. Now, let's get to where she self-sabotaged here. That's what she called it, and she crashed out. It was his birthday, and his birthday is February 13th. And by the way, y'all, his birthday is a day before mine, so he is an Aquarius man. That already. Listen, Aquarius men. The two worst men I've ever dated, Aquarius and Capricorns. Come fight with me in the comments. Next! And he had already scheduled a trip to Cape Town. I guess with his boys. Who knows if it was a boys' trip. I assume that it was. And he had planned it before they met, so that's okay. And now she said that the day before his birthday, she decided to call it quits with him. And she told Anwar, her dating coach again, that this is not going to work because I envision for a man to be spiritual. And I feel like he is not spiritual as I want him to be. So I'm going to end it. And then she said that she started thinking too much and overthinking, and she was spiraling. Oh, no, but I'm going to tell you what really was going on, sis. Sis, you're not attracted to him. She didn't mention it, but I think she did in one video. I'm probably going to highlight that where she talked about she was dating white men. But I believe that sis wasn't physically attracted to him. She was attracted to what he did for her and how he was, really obsessed with her. But the way she was treating him, that's not the way you would treat someone you're really interested in. Best believe when I was with my husband, when I was dating him, because I was like, oh, I'm not going to mess this up. I truly respected my husband and I was very attracted to him. So for me, I was just like, look, I'm going to be on my best behavior now. Like, was I myself? Absolutely. That's why he fell in love with your girl. But at the same time, I don't think I would have never imagined to ghost him, to sabotage his birthday. Like, this is some crazy work here. So that lets me know that she wasn't really interested in him like that. She wasn't physically attracted to him. There was something about him that was not letting her proceed. And instead of listening to her intuition and trying to work it out, she just kept spiraling and going back and forth with it. And I think what it was that she listened to her coach talking about you could never do the wrong thing to the right guy. She might have messed up her opportunities if he has strong standards. I'm telling y'all, if a man has strong standards, if he was really knowing that he got a lot of girls out there, or he knows he has other options and he has strong standards, he's not going to stand for that. I'll say that. Only a man with no standards would. Whoa, okay. The more that we get into this story, see, the thing with TikTok, and I'm going to let y'all know, is TikTok will only, people will only stitch one popular video of the creator, but you got to really dig into their account to really find the true story. Now, in part 14, she talks about how, the whole crash out happened before his birthday, and they didn't talk to each other for 2 to 3 weeks. So she left him all red, I guess, and she just decided to just move on for 2 to 3 weeks. Then in the midst of this whole situation going down, her therapist helped her reconcile her feelings, and that her therapist said she had a rigid way of looking at spirituality. Now, I will say this. Can some Christian women be over the top with what they're looking for in a husband? Yes. However, I don't think that it is a problem for you to have standards. If you want a man who can lead the household, like she said she wanted a leader of the home who worshiped and prayed and was more spiritually led. If that is what you want and you value that, there is nothing wrong with you finding a man who fits that. So now she feels like her way of looking at spirituality was too rigid because of her therapist. And so she decides to spin the block. As she said, I done told y'all, spinning the block is not, it never works, y'all. It does not work. She spun the block. And then she went and contacted Ty once again. And once she contacted him, then he shared a little bit. I guess she told him, look, the reason I broke it off was because you're not spiritual enough, and blah, 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 blah. And so now he shared a little bit more of his spiritual journey and how he's on his walk. Now, this is what I noticed. It wasn't until she brought it up that he talked about it. And then they started going to church together, and then she started kind of seeing him in a different light yet again. Y'all can't change people. Listen, stop trying to make fetch happen. If he's not a spiritually led man, then he won't be. Just accept him how he is and let him go on his journey alone. But if that's what you want, then it's best for you to find someone who's already that. Stop looking for potential. That is going to get y'all tied up every single time. If you are a Christian girl and you meet a man who's not spiritual or who's not spiritual enough to your liking, let him go. If you still want to pursue things with him, let him be. That's it. I don't understand what the problem is. Let him be. You have to come to terms that he might not ever get to the level that you need him to be. And you need to be okay with that. But stop trying to get with him and then trying to change him into a pastor or a church leader. You should have found somebody that way if that's what you wanted. But now she's circling back. And she's realizing that, oh, my time is ticking again. Let me go holler at this brother. And so now they get back together. Like I said, he ain't got no standards. That already lets me know. He has no standards, no backbone. Because had this been a woman, let's say the situation was reversed, we would call her all types of silly. We'd be like, that man don't want you, girl. He don't really want you. He doesn't really want you. Imagine if the situation was reversed. Imagine. We would say that. So I have to be real and keep it real here. She don't want that man. She wants the marriage and the ring and the babies. Time is ticking. The time is ticking. The clock is ticking. It's been ticking. That's what she's thinking about. And now we got her dating coach. Yet again. Telling her, this the man, the one. Because you paid $10K and I need a testimonial for my channel. I need a testimonial. So I could add that because this is my biggest fish ever. The 10K, oh, we gonna get a testimonial out of you. So, baby girl, I need you to push the exclusivity conversation, because her coach told her to broker the exclusivity talk. She said by that time they were still dating. It had been 4 months. He didn't approach her about it. She did. And what did I tell y'all before when I did the case study on the spiritual bum? What did I tell y'all? I'm going to give y'all a second to say that. If the woman is leading, she's leading with her masculine energy. Now, a lot of you had some misconceptions about what I meant between masculine and feminine energy. It does not have anything to do with gender. And I think that I didn't express it in the video because I just assumed that everyone knew that concept. So I apologize. I will say that sometimes I explain things and I don't go into detail because I just assume people know things, and I have to be more cognizant that a lot of people might not understand it. So I'm going to break it down for you right now. This is from the book, The Invisible Partners, How the Male and Female in Each of Us Affects Our Relationships. Now, you can get the full book. I probably will end up covering this book in my book club on Discord. Now, the author goes into how male and female energy was encapsulated in religion and in certain deities and gods. However, it never transferred into human form. Now, what he ends up saying is that Carl Jung actually was the first scientist to observe this psychological fact of human nature, that we both have the masculine and feminine energy. Now, if you look at ancient Chinese philosophy, you will know that this concept has been there for a long time. It emerged in 3rd century BCE, and that is yin and yang, and that everyone has both masculine and feminine energy, and they both have to balance. What Jung did is he called yin and yang essentially the anima and the animus. By the anima, he meant the feminine component in a man's personality, and by the animus, he designated the masculine component in a woman's personality. When we look at the anima and animus and we project it, we usually project it into deities. And so what he said is, when the anima and animus are projected onto other people, our perception of them is remarkably altered. For the most part, man has projected the anima onto women, and women has projected the animus onto men. Woman has carried for man the living image of his own feminine soul or counterpart, and man has carried for woman the living image of her own spirit. This has led to many unusual and often unfortunate consequences, since these living realities within ourselves often have a peculiarly powerful or irritating effect. All of this has important implications for the relationship between the sexes. As stated above, men identified with their masculinity typically project their feminine side onto women, and women identify with their feminine nature typically project their masculine side onto men. These projected psychic images are the invisible partners in every man-woman relationship and greatly influence the relationship. For whatever projection occurs, the person who carries the projected image, so the fantasy, is either greatly overvalued or greatly undervalued. The author continues to say, what makes men and women different is not that men are entirely yang and women yin, for each sex contains the other within. It is the fact that a man ordinarily identifies his ego with his masculinity, while his feminine side is unconscious to him, and a woman does the opposite. She identifies herself consciously with her femininity, and her masculine side is unconscious to her. Basically, you can operate in both, like I've been saying. He goes on to say, naturally, a woman who carries such a powerful animal projection is pleased, at least at first. She feels flattered and valued, and though she may be only dimly aware of it, enjoys a feeling of considerable power. The person who carries a projected psychic image from another person does have the power over that person for as long as part of our psyche is perceived in someone else, that other person has power over us. Basically, in simple terms, what he's trying to say is that it becomes a fascination for the person because they're not naturally tapping in to the other energy source that they have. So then when you see that person, you desire the traits that you see as like kind of godlike. But in actuality, you hold it within yourself. And so you start to kind of deify the person. So now the author continues to say, the woman usually regrets the situation in time, however, as she experiences the disagreeable side of being the carrier of another person's soul. She eventually will discover that the man begins to suffocate her because he doesn't have a mind of his own. She may find that he resents it when she is not immediately and always available to him, and this gives an oppressive quality to their relationship. Again, because they're not operating in both energies, or they don't know when to use each one. She will also discover that the man resents any attempt on her part to develop her individual personality in a way that it goes beyond the anima image he has placed on her. For in fact, he sees her not as she actually is, but what he wants her to be. He wants her to fulfill and live out for him his projected feminine image, and this inevitably will collide with her human reality as a person. All right. So then he gets into the shadow side and other psychological terms, which we won't go over in this video because this video will be way too long. Now, am I predicting that this situation is going to not work out? No, I'm not. What I'm trying to highlight, though, is that sis has a fantasy, y'all. Sis has a fantasy. And I really hope that she wakes up from that fantasy, because to me, it seems like things were designed in a way to make it happen, and it wasn't organic. That's what I'm getting from this whole situation. And so when I see these type of situations, I will say that, yes, there's cause for alarm. However, that doesn't mean that things cannot change. I think that it just comes up to self-awareness and then taking accountability and pivoting, because you always have an opportunity to pivot. And sometimes when you're in a relationship, you tend to think the best of someone and you want it to work so badly. So you tend to make things fit where they don't actually fit, but you're forcing it in a way, and you're forcing things to manifest the way that you want it to, again, projecting it. And unfortunately, real life is real life. I find that the best relationships and the best situations that I have encountered in my life, my personal experience, is when things happen organically and where I don't have to force anything.
Okay, so part 15 on how I invested over 10K into a dating coach and got engaged with it the first year of me and my fiance. So a big part of Anwar's program is if your guy has not had a conversation with you around exclusivity at like the 3-month mark, it's your responsibility to you broker that conversation. So why didn't you ask me to be your girlfriend? And when did you know?
You were pretty unstable.
No, okay, but I know at what month did you know I want this girl to be my girlfriend?
When I made that man write your name in the sand.
After I had tried to break things off with you again, you knew
I cared too much.
So you didn't ask me because you felt like I was too unstable. I brought up exclusivity to you in like, was it March?
Yeah, early March, late February.
Were you ready then, or did you feel like I was still unstable?
I was ready to have a conversation. I just didn't tell you about it. I was talking to my therapist about it, but I didn't tell you about it because you just didn't like broker in that conversation with you. It just felt like I felt over-engineered all the time. Like, that's what I mean. Like, it's asking you that. The night I asked you, I took you to dinner and I said, hey, would you be my girl? Whatever I said to you, what'd you say to me? What does that come with? Like, what? That's what you said.
Wait, hold on. So I brought it up at some point and I was like, we need to have a conversation about this. And then we agreed we would go to dinner and talk about it. So then you flat out asked me, yeah, and I did say, well,
what does that look like? And I'm like,
well, don't mock me.
I've never had a response like that to that question. So at that point, I'm just listening to you again. just engineering this thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was in feelings and you was on, I don't know what you was on.
I don't know what
But I
was
left that table like, oh, well, this didn't work.
And I kind of thought we were in a relationship. You did not. And then
What about that conversation gave you that
I don't know
answer?
But he did something so sweet. He went and he like went and got some flowers and wrote me a note that said, "Will you?" This happened maybe a few weeks later. "Will you be my girlfriend? Circle yes or no." And he left it at the doorman. And he texted me. I guess at this point he was like, "Girl, it's either a yes or it's a no."
Or it's a dub. Like this.
Wait, maybe might have been on it.
Yeah, that would have worked too after that.
So I said yes, and then, oh yeah, we did a trip. I was super stressed out in May, and you're so kind and sweet. So then he took me to the Bahamas, and that was fun. And then we spent all summer just having fun. We went to the Hamptons. We went to, I rented a house for my family in Savannah, so he got to meet my mom, my dad, my brother, all my brother's children. He had already met my sister's children. And then we get to, maybe it was October, where Anwar was like, "Okay, you've been dating. No, you've been in an exclusive relationship at this point for 6 months. Are you going to marry this man or not?"
That's too fast, mama.
Hold on, mama. That's too fast.
Again, in this part, she talks about Anwar. Once again, like I told y'all, this was an advertisement. We've already proven that. Now, the thing is that Sis goes and talks about questions that she would use to prompt. So now Sis goes into the questions that she would ask these men. And I think they were wonderful questions. I don't think there's anything wrong with the questions. But, y'all always know I have a however. This should be something he should be asking you, not you. If you want to operate as the female energy in a relationship, then he should be asking you these questions. You should not be prompting. You should be letting him ask you these questions, and then you return and respond and receive. And then you could continue going back and forth, having a very, lighthearted, carefree conversation. If you want to have more serious conversations, that's not a problem. But Sis says she prompted. So that means, in my mind, she initiated. These questions are supposed to be in response to a conversation that he already brought up. So if he's asking you, what did you do for this weekend? Then you answer. And then you could prompt him. What something fun did you did this weekend? Not you prompting. Again, that's if you want to operate as the female energy. Now, if you want to operate as a masculina or masculine energy, then do what Sis did. That's going to get you results. But if you want the man to take the lead, don't do that. Let him ask you those questions. And that's just my personal opinion. Again, that has been what worked for me in my marriage, because Dom was the one asking me the questions. And then I was responding, and then I would have a follow-up question. My questions were always follow-ups. They were not initiating. I was not the initiator. He's the one who did all the initiating, especially in the beginning. So that's just my perspective. Again, my opinion. Sis is going through these prompts, and she said that she had interviews with these men. She really is a CEO of her love life. She done told y'all she's gonna teach you how to be the CEO of your love life. Now, Sis explained a little bit more about how she set her boundaries with the 170 men that she met on Bumble and on Hinge. She said that she had a clear vision of what she wanted, and she set boundaries, and if she wasn't feeling it, she let them know via text, and if they overstepped the boundary, then she would just block them. That's A1 advice right there. I agree wholeheartedly with that. You should not waste your time explaining to people why you're rejecting them. Express your feelings and then let it go and block them. So I agree with her on that. I think this is very solid advice, and that's something that every woman who's out there dating should follow. Here we go with the advertisement again. Sis done broke down how much she paid for the program. Y'all can't convince me that this is not an advertisement. This is an ad, y'all. And this is better than a commercial. I gotta give Anwar his ones for this, because people are going to want to know the testimonial of a real life person and not what they see in a commercial or what they're reading online. They want to hear the story from start to finish. And she already got the girlies in a frenzy in the comments. I done seen people say, you see, I don't think it's a problem to invest 10K in a man. I think you did a great job. Oh, he sounds like a real one. They all in the comments ready to eat this up. They're already taking advice from her and she didn't even get married yet.
All right, I'm back for part 2 of Anwar's program cost breakdown and what I got from everything. So after, regarding part 1, the $7,500, just so you know, I paid that in installments. And one of the reasons why I like doing installments, as a founder, as a CEO, cash is king. So the more I can hold on to cash and have that money make money in other areas, I always look for those opportunities. So it's always important when a vendor or a client or a partner allows for installments or, you know, payment plans or stuff like that.
What am I doing with my life, y'all? Y'all mean to tell me that I could have made 10K from the advice that he gave because he said to get a roster? I done told y'all that. Go watch my live stream. He told y'all to set standards. I done told y'all that. He told y'all to set boundaries. I done told y'all that. Have requirements. I done said that. Where my 10K at? You know what? Close the doors.
Close the doors. Close the doors. Close the doors. It's 1,000 that's watching online. This is a small seed. If I get 1,000 online to give this, if I get 1,000 in the sanctuary to give this, that's $40,000 tonight. Bring them baskets. I want the baskets up here. I want to see the folk.
Now I'm not finishing this video till y'all give me my 10K. All of y'all here, y'all owe me my 10K. I even let y'all know what energy to operate in. I'm gonna need my 10K today. I'm gonna need y'all to send the funds. Send it. Because sis right here, that's what I know. She a real one right here because she done sent the 10K. And he told her what any relationship book would have told her. Sis got the advice and the coaching. And I done gave it to y'all for free. This is crazy work, y'all. All right, all jokes aside, y'all. Let's continue. Let's determine if this was worth $10,000. She dropped 10 bands on the man. She dropped the 10 bands to get a man. There was one part I missed. Now, in this part, sis reiterates how many men she met on the app and that Anwar, he was the one who told her to go on dating apps and to increase her chances, and she was talking to some white boys. That's what she said. She said she was ready to cross the sea. I will cross the ocean for you. She was about to risk it all for the white man and never return back home. But then she met Ty, and he seemed like he was ready. And I just want to say this, that just further confirms my theory that she wasn't really attracted to him. He wasn't her type. Sis had a type. Now, I'm not saying that the white guys were her type, but I'm just saying the way that she was reacting here, she was like, yeah, if this don't work out, if it didn't work out with Ty, I was ready to eat pasta and lobster. That's what she said. She was ready to do it. Hell, who am I to judge? I've been eating noodles. I was eating ramen noodles for the longest. But I'm just showing you all that her reaction to him just let me know that she wasn't as invested in him as she wanted to be. And that could answer why she was always wishy-washy. All right, y'all. So here in this excerpt, so this is part 18 actually, but I want to save part 17 for last. All right, so now she says that she used to be hyper-masculina in her masculina energy. Remember I told you, energy, it doesn't matter whether it's female or male. It just, you have both, and how you choose to operate is how you choose to operate, what comes naturally to you. And depending on where you are, then sometimes you can operate with one and sometimes you can tone it down. That's something that we weren't taught, and I had to learn that as well. when I was, doing my self-healing journey. Now, the thing that got to me with sis was that she said that she learned how to tone it down, which is not a problem. But then she said she had to create space for him to be in his masculine energy, which is true. That is very much a fact. However, what I will say is that I think that she is mistaking masculinity with the gender and not the energy. Because I can clearly tell you this man does not have masculine energy. So, I forgot to mention, there was a story that she gave where she said that, he would do things for her. How she knew he was the one was that one time someone had spit on her in the NYC subway. And then he went to the subway to go find her. And he asked people questions, and he really looked all over for her. And she knew that he really cared about her. And she's right. That does show that he does care about her. I do not object to the fact that he doesn't care about her. I think this man does care about her. He has shown time and time again that he actually really likes her. And then when they were supposed to make it official, he said that the reason that he didn't do it and didn't come up with the conversation of her becoming his girlfriend was because she was too unstable. Now, I think, again, my perception is that he was just getting on to get on. He looks like the type that she said, oh, I like this. Okay, you like it? You can have it. I don't think that he actually has a standard. And that is actually very alarming because he's just like, okay, whatever. Okay, you ghosted me, but that's okay. I'm going to just take you. I feel like he doesn't have any boundaries. And that's that's problematic, y'all. That is problematic. A man with no boundaries. I think that the fact that he didn't have standards let me know that he just wanted to get married. He just wants the wife. And you'll see why I'm saying that. Just wait 1 second. All right, let's head to the grand finale. Now, before I head to the grand finale of the engagement, I just want to mention that at times he did show leadership and he did lead. So I'm not going to take that away from him. When it came time for him to plan dates in the beginning, he was the one initiating them. And I think that, again, in the beginning, he was all in. However, being that she left, came back, then crashed out, came back, I think that he got used to the idea of her being a damsel in distress. And a man loves a good damsel in distress, I'll tell you that. They love it. They love a good damsel in distress. Some men do. But other men, again, if you have standards and boundaries, you're not going to like that stuff. You don't like to be disrespected like that. I'll just be honest. So now, let's get to the grand finale of the engagement. I'm going to let y'all watch this video.
Shirley Renee Williams, CEO of Her Love Life, where I gave my fiance, my now fiance, a timeline. And within 2 months, he had a ring on my finger. Okay, so this is the text that I lost all my texts. So I texted him and said, hey, can you send me a screenshot of the timeline that I sent? So, and this screenshot, he is the person in blue, but I am the person in this black and white. So our roadmap to kick off a lifetime of partnership. 1, engagement by the end of the year. So I sent this to him the first week in November of 2024. Engagement by the end of the year. Ty and I engage by end of year, and between now and then, we have a dedicated weekly discussion on expectations, values, and visions for the future, and to continue to communicate openly about life goals, family, and spiritual alignment. So again, y'all, I run my own business, and Anwar was like, you are the CEO of your love life. I need you to take them same CEO skills that you do in business and bring it here to your love life. And this is what I would do with my team. Weekly touch base. Are we aligned? What's the vision? What's the mission? What's our core values? So I sent him this. Then 2, ring shopping. Week of 11/11, November 11th, I was traveling. So I was like, well, when I get back that week, I want to go ring shopping. And y'all, I didn't beg this man. I didn't plead. I just simply asked. That's it. I told him what I wanted. So ring shopping week of 11/11, and we go to the Diamond District and pick out Shirley's style and size. That was so much fun. And then 3, so a part of my boundaries and things like that, I was not willing to live with a man that I was not married to. So there were things that I gave men in the past, sacred things, I gave them access to, and I was not willing to do this again. So if you want me, if you want all of me, there are things that you have to commit to, and the stakes have to be high if you want access. So number 3, marriage by spring 2025. Living together without being married is a non-negotiable. With my lease ending in April, that's this month, in just a few weeks. In April, this aligns well with moving in together in an intimate way. Y'all, I'm trying to learn how to do TikTok. And an intimate wedding ceremony in early 2025 gives us a few months to plan a beautiful, close-knit ceremony. I'm also open to getting a marriage certificate before April and doing a ceremony at a later time. And then number 4, living together after being married, April, May 2025, and then pregnancy. We both want children. We both want to create our own family. So pregnancy timing, pregnant by end of 2025. So hopefully this year I'll have a little baby in my belly. How did he respond, y'all? He said, I appreciate you taking the time to think this out. When you're back tomorrow or whenever we can before you leave Thursday, let's discuss further. I love you. Me tonight on the phone. Again, I made an ask. I didn't you better. I don't, with him, that's not even a thing. I literally this man has never told me no. He's never told me no, ever. But I'm also not as unstable as he said I am. I'm not that crazy. But I made an ask, and literally the next week we were ring shopping. And I picked out my own ring. I told him exactly what I wanted. And then, and so we did not get engaged by the end of 2024. But that was because he was being considerate of what I wanted around an engagement, that vision, and ended up proposing on January 17th. So I can tell y'all that whole story too, because that was ain't nothing with me regular. That was fun. That was a journey.
Y'all, sis gave him a whole timeline. So not only was she the one to negotiate and broker them being exclusive, but she also was the one who gave him a timeline. Let's look at this again, because she read through it, but I want to go through it a little bit. Engagement by the end of the year. And then she told him what she wanted exactly with the engagement, how she wanted to be proposed to. She didn't let him do no work. Sis did everything for him. So mind you, in the video before, she's like, I don't want to be his mama. I didn't want to be that. But sis, you are operating in that masculine energy. And that's fine. It's okay if you want to. I said you can operate in either. My issue is that she clearly is either mistaken, because she said that she wants to be more in her feminine energy and that he's more masculine. But sis, no, he's not masculine at all from what I can see. This does not sound like a masculine man. And if he was masculine, it was in the beginning. But then he just gave up somewhere along the way, and now you took the lead. You started taking charge. She told him to go ring shopping on 11/11. We go to Diamond District and pick out Shirley style size. And she told him exactly what she wanted. He didn't even prompt her and ask her, what do you want? Then marriage by spring 2025. And then she even told him when she's going to break her, when her lease ends. This is info he should have known already. You see, when a man, this is why I say that you should be receptive if you want to operate in your feminine energy. Because the man will be the one to ask you all these questions. My husband was the one that asked me all them questions. I never had to ask him nothing. He asked me to be his girl. He asked me to be his wife. He asked me what ring I wanted. He asked me what type of ring do I like. How do you want your wedding to be, honey? I'm going to take you to the wedding planner. You're going to talk to her and let her know what you want your wedding to be like. He initiated all of that. And I didn't pay $10K. I did not pay $10K. And again, no shade to the women who do, because like I said, some women need to. But what I'm trying to say is that you can get the results without having to pay $10,000. You just got to be able to do the work. All right. And if you need a coach to help you do the work, then go and get a coach. That's not an issue at all. But what I'm trying to say is do the inner work as well. Don't just rely on your coach and then just follow what your coach says. You have to also be willing to do the work yourself. Let's talk about the pregnancy too. Sis says she want to be pregnant by 2025. So that's why I told y'all she literally has a timeline, because the clock is ticking. So in her mind, she's like, I got to get married, have kids, because that's what I was told. That's the fairy tale. That's endgame. You have kids, you get married, and that's it. That's all. This didn't organically happen. This was a very engineered and intentional. And they even mentioned the word engineered. Engineered, that's the exact word. It's something that was constructed by her and her coach. And mind you, the man said he ain't had nothing to do with it. He said, don't come and blame me and tell me I told her to spend $10,000 on me, because I don't know. I wouldn't do that. That's my problem with this whole situation. Because Boaz is not making moves. And let's look at his response. His response told me everything I needed to know. I appreciate you taking the time to think this out. So he didn't have the time to think this out at all. I think sis really took the lead, but I'm going to need sis to stop saying he's masculine. This man is not operating in his masculine energy. Now, can he be masculine at times? Yes, according to her. Again, we don't know what job he does. We don't know what his occupation is at all. But we know sis is successful. So she's the one leading the charge. So someone says, I can attest that that man would die for you. And then someone said, first things first, I love your transparency. Secondly, are you taking on mentees? Y'all, they just want to get married. And someone wrote, this is for who it's for. Yes, she's right. It is for who it's for. It is for who it's for. Now, again, I think that it's interesting. It's a very interesting story. I must say it had a lot of layers to it. There were a lot of nuances. And thank you for being able to give me this video to do a commentary on. However, what I will say is, for those of you who would like to follow in her footsteps, I would strongly advise that you think twice about which energy you want to operate and begin your relationship on. Because sis decided to be the CEO of her love life. And now she's definitely in her masculine energy. That is bar none. That's indisputable, in my opinion. So she's going to have to keep up with this. And if that works for her, then I'm going to wish her the best. However, if you prefer to operate in your feminine energy, because remember, you have to choose one in whatever area of life you're in. So in relationships, if you want to be the more feminine energy, then do not follow what sis is saying. Please don't be her mentee. Do not be her mentee. Because I could see clearly, as clear as day, where this is headed. And sis is so enamored with the fantasy that she's also unaware of what's coming up. Because the day that she decides that she no longer wants to keep up with this, in one of the videos, she said that he wants her to tone it down. So he wants her to be more feminine, but then in actuality, he is the feminine one. Because he's looking at feminine as a gender and not as an energy. This is what's getting people confused. The confusion. So he needs to accept that maybe he is more of a laid-back feminine man, and there's nothing wrong with that. Eventually, if they don't get this handled, it's going to be a problem in the future, because someone's going to be resentful, as y'all read in that book. So I wish them the best of luck. Sounds like sis got exactly what she wanted, and I can do nothing but say congratulations on your wedding, and I truly wish you both the best. Now, on that note, I'm going to end this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We got a case study coming next week for my members. Gin and juice is coming up, y'all. As always, take care of your beautiful selves. And until next time, bye.